Hello and welcome to Select 10. Every year, a large number of fantasy films are released, sometimes with different genres blended within. And this year's fantasy movies are loaded with multiverses, ancient powers, and a brand new magical realms which we have never seen before. With no major fantasy movies coming out in the next 2 months, let's take a look at the top 10 best fantasy movies of 2022 so far. Now let's start the video. Number 10. The King's Daughter. It is a 2022 action-adventure fantasy film, directed by Sean McNamara. The plot revolves around King Louis XIV, who is concerned with his own passing and France's destiny. Louis asks the help of the imperial medic and his religious counselor to find the secret to immortality, as he claims that a mermaid by the name of Fan Bingbing holds the power to eternal life. In order to capture the magical creature and sacrifice it during twilight to absorb its life energy, Louis hires a young ship captain to search the oceans for it and capture it. But when his abandoned daughter, Marie, forms a fragile connection with the mermaid, it jeopardizes his sinister plans. Now with a solar eclipse approaching, Louis will uncover where his daughter's true allegiance lies as he rushes towards the clock to collect the mermaid's life-giving power. With a decent but intriguing plot, it is a pleasant and enjoyable fantasy movie that you can watch with your family. It might not be a big budget hit, but fantasy movie fans should check it out. And the movie has a 5.1 rating on IMDb and an 80% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 9. The School for Good and Evil. It is a 2022 fantasy drama film based on the novel of the same name. The film centers on Sophie and Agatha, two best friends who live in the village of Gavaldon. While Agatha has the potential to be a great real witch thanks to her gloomy aesthetic, Sophie is a fan of magical stories and aspires to escape her ordinary village lifestyle. However, one night, a strong force transports them off to the School for Good and Evil, where Agatha is placed in the School for Good and Sophie is dropped into the School for Evil. But when a sinister and perilous entity with enigmatic connections to Sophie resurfaces and attempts to completely destroy the school, Sophie and Agatha must figure out how to preserve the harmony between good and evil. Overall, it's a good movie with an engaging fantasy plot and some impressively surprising twists. It's not Harry Potter, but if you appreciate movies about magical schools, you shouldn't miss this one. And the movie has a 5.9 rating on IMDb and a 69% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 8. The Princess. It is an action fantasy movie set in an ancient realm ruled by a king and queen who had 2 children, the princess and Violet. Because they did not have any sons, the king had intended to wed the princess to Julius, the nasty son of a court counselor who despises the king's calm authority and thinks that a powerful king must rule with cruelty. However, when the princess refused to marry him, Julius and his band of ruthless militants attacked the palace and took the ruling family and their security personnel prisoner. As a result, the princess has now been locked up at the edge of her palace's tallest tower while she waits to be married to Julius forcibly. But when 2 mercenaries arrive and attempt to assault her, she kills them and goes off to protect her family from the wicked Julius, who plans to destroy her kingdom. To be honest, the movie's plot is poor, and the only reason to watch it is for Joey King and some fantastic action. So, if you're looking for some enjoyable entertainment and can put up with a mediocre plot, consider checking out this film. And the movie has a 5.6 rating on IMDb and a 60% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 7. Brahmastra, Part 1, Shiva. It is a 2022 fantasy action-adventure film set in modern India, which centers on a group of scholars who live in secrecy and guard the Brahmastra, an enormously powerful weapon with the potential to end the world. In order to save the Earth from the cosmic forces, the scholars harness their own Astra's powers to control the uncontrollable Brahmastra and form the Brahmansh, a hidden organization. The main plot follows Shiva, an orphan who has the ability to control fire with his mind. But his calm life is turned upside down when he learns that he is an Astra, a weapon of great energy. As he tries to figure out who he is pulled into the ancient fight and has to safeguard Brahmastra from falling into the possession of sinister powers with which he has a history. With mind-blowing visuals and great storytelling of mythology, adventure, love, and hope, Brahmastra is a must-see on this list. And the movie has a 5.6 rating on IMDb and a 69% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 6. 3,000 Years of Longing. It is a 2022 fantasy drama film based on the short novel, The Djinn in the Nightingale's Eye. The main character of the story is Dr. Alithia Binney, who is in Turkey for a seminar when she encounters a genie who grants her 3 wishes in exchange for his release. Though she is an expert in art and mythology, there are 2 problems with this. First, she doesn't think it's true, and second, she is familiar with all the frightening legends of desires that have horrifically gone wrong. While the genie defends his position by telling her about his exotic past, she is eventually lured by her impulses and makes a wish that surprises them both. It's a kind of a fresh take on the typical fantasy story, so if you enjoy stories about mystical beings and stories that make you think about the fantasy world shown in the film, I highly recommend you watch it. You will not be disappointed. And the movie has a 6.7 rating on IMDb and a 71% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 5. Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It is a 2022 fantasy action-adventure film directed by Jeff Fowler. The plot is set a year after the previous film and focuses on Sonic, who is now a member of Green Hill and eager to demonstrate his capacity as a real hero. But when Tom and Maddie decide to leave Sonic alone while they go on a trip, a new problem for Sonic emerges because the villain Dr. Robotnik has returned with a new friend, Knuckles, in pursuit of a magical crystal that has the ability to both create and demolish the entire worlds. Now that the planet needs to be saved and Robotnik and Knuckles must be stopped, Sonic teams up with Tails, his own companion, and together they set out on a journey to find the crystal before it is seized by Robotnik. Usually, the second film is weaker than the first, but in this case, the second film overshadows the first. With mind-blowing CGI, this film is a delight to Sonic fans of all ages, while also entertaining for more general audience. And the movie has a 6.5 rating on IMDb and a 96% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 4. The Sea Beast. It is a 2022 fantasy adventure film set in a time when terrifying monsters controlled the seas and beast hunters were respected as heroes. Our main character is the legendary Jacob Holland, who is one of the most famous monster hunters of his time. However, when a little girl named Macy Brumble secretly boards his ship and forms an uncanny bond with a terrifying sea monster, the life of our famous hunter is flipped upside down. After Jacob finds her on board the ship, he and the young girl are forced to work together and embark on an incredible journey into unknown waters, facing and battling any beasts that may emerge along the way. Just because it's animated doesn't mean it should be avoided, but if you're not a fan of animation, that's a different story. So, first and obviously, the animation is great. It is the most strikingly beautiful animated adventure film you will watch this year. And the movie has a 7.1 rating on IMDb and an 84% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 3. Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore. It is a 2022 fantasy adventure film based on the Harry Potter novel series. The story takes place in the 1930s after the crimes of Grindelwald and follows Newt and his allies as they continue to hunt down the villainous wizard who keeps intensifying his attempts to take over the magical world. After noticing how quickly Grindelwald's authority was expanding, Albus Dumbledore chose Newt Scamander to lead a brave group of both wizards and witches on a daring mission where they battled Grindelwald's expanding army and encountered both ancient and new creatures, while they also discreetly carried out a secret plan to throw Grindelwald off guard and prevent him from gaining political power. Yes, I agree that this film was a letdown in comparison to the previous 2 films. But if you are a huge fan of the Harry Potter universe, I think you should ignore the mixed reviews and experience some of the Harry Potter nostalgia this film offers. And the movie has a 6.2 rating on IMDb and an 83% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 2. Black Adam. It is a 2022 superhero fantasy action film based on the DC Comics character of the same name. The story takes place in present-day Kahndaq, which is enslaved by the Inter Gang, who loots the city's precious resources. The main plot revolves around archaeologist Adriana Thomas, who attempts to find a hidden artifact with the help of her brothers. But when an Inter-Gang force attacks them, to save herself and her brothers, Adriana performs a spell that wakes the deadly Teth Adam from a deep sleep, whom she thinks to be Kahndaq's defender. After receiving the great powers of the ancient gods about 5,000 years prior, Teth was later imprisoned for his crimes. But now, after he has been released from his earthly grave, he begins to unleash his own version of justice on the modern world and must fight against Justice Society of America, who came to imprison him again. The only reason this film is in second place is that it explores fewer fantasy elements and leans largely on action, which is fine. Overall, this is the most baddest superhero movie of the year, with some insane, mind-blowing action scenes that will make your heart beat faster. And the movie has a 7.1 rating on IMDb and a 90% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Number 1. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It is a 2022 superhero fantasy adventure film featuring the Marvel Comics character, Doctor Strange. The story follows Doctor Strange as he encounters a mysterious teenage girl from one of his dreams who has the power to move across multiverses. To save the girl from an unknown danger, he teams up with her to battle off several enemies, including other universe incarnations of himself, who represent a danger to the girl's survival and the universe in general. As Doctor Strange travels through the treacherous and mind-bending realms of the infinite universe, he enlists the assistance of great allies in order to battle a dangerous new enemy. Everyone has their own opinions, but for me, this is the most unique and creative film Marvel has ever made. If you set aside the expectation that there will be many cameos, the film has the perfect blend of drama, action, and fantasy, making it a lot of fun to watch. And the movie has a 6.9 rating on IMDb and an 85% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. That's it for today. Thank you for watching this video. And do subscribe our channel to see more videos related to movies and series suggestions.